Have you ever noticed how two hugs can look almost identical on the outside, yet feel completely different on the inside? One hug feels polite, quick, almost like a routine gesture people exchange without thinking. And another hug, lasting the same few seconds, somehow lingers in your mind long after it ends. You walk away from it feeling a strange warmth, a subtle curiosity, even a quiet sense of connection that wasn't there before. What's fascinating is that the difference between those two hugs is rarely obvious. It's not about holding on tighter or turning the moment into something dramatic. In fact, the most powerful hugs are often the most natural ones. They happen effortlessly, almost quietly, but they carry a feeling that changes the emotional tone between two people. And when a hug carries that kind of energy, it can shift attraction in ways that feel completely unexpected. Many women assume attraction is built through big things, perfect conversations, clever messages, or grand romantic gestures. But in reality, attraction often grows through the smallest moments of human connection. A greeting that feels warm, a goodbye that lingers for just a second longer, a hug that feels calm, genuine, and slightly different from every other hug he's experienced. In that brief moment, something subtle happens. The body communicates emotions that words never could. Comfort, warmth, curiosity, even a quiet sense of closeness can all exist in just a few seconds of physical presence. And the most interesting part is that men often remember these moments even if they can't explain why. They simply remember that something about that interaction felt different. So today, we're going to explore the quiet details that can transform an ordinary hug into a moment that subtly deepens attraction. Because sometimes the smallest touch, when done naturally and with the right energy, can change the entire emotional atmosphere between two people. One of the biggest mistakes people make with hugs is treating them like a quick formality. It becomes automatic. Step in, wrap arms quickly, give a couple of quick pats, and step away before the moment even has time to exist. It's polite, but it's forgettable. Nothing about it stands out. But when a woman changes just one small detail, the way she arrives into the hug, the entire emotional tone of that moment can shift in a surprisingly powerful way. The secret isn't about making the hug longer or turning it into something dramatic. It's about slowing down the very first second. When you approach a hug with calm energy instead of rushing into it, the moment suddenly feels intentional. Imagine this. You've just shared a nice conversation with someone. Maybe you're greeting him or saying goodbye. Instead of quickly leaning forward out of habit, you allow a small pause before the hug. You look at him for a moment, smile naturally, and then step in with relaxed confidence. That tiny pause, barely noticeable, creates anticipation. It signals that the hug isn't just a reflex. It's a moment you're choosing to share. As you move into the hug, your body language remains relaxed. Your arms wrap around him naturally, not stiff or rushed, just comfortable and easy. When the approach feels calm, the hug itself immediately feels warmer. What's interesting is that people are incredibly sensitive to changes in rhythm. When something slows down slightly compared to what we expect, our brain pays attention. The moment suddenly feels more meaningful even if we can't explain why. And this is where attraction often begins to grow, inside these tiny shifts in emotional experience. Think about the difference between someone who rushes through every interaction and someone who seems completely comfortable in the moment. The second person always feels more magnetic, more memorable, simply because they aren't trying too hard. When a woman approaches a hug with that same calm presence, it communicates quiet confidence. It says without words, "I'm comfortable being here with you." And that feeling is incredibly powerful Because when someone feels that kind of ease from you, they start to associate your presence with warmth and calm. And that's the kind of emotional experience people naturally want to come back to again and again. During a hug, most people don't think about where their hands actually rest. It happens automatically. Arms wrap around, a couple of quick pats on the back, and the moment ends before either person even notices the details. But what many people don't realize is that the placement of your hands during a hug can quietly shape how that moment feels. One of the most natural yet surprisingly powerful placements is the upper back, right between the shoulder blades. When your hand rests there, gently and calmly, it creates a feeling of reassurance and warmth. It doesn't feel forced or overly intentional. Instead, it feels grounding, like the hug has a sense of stability and comfort. The key here is the quality of the touch. Instead of quick, repetitive pats that signal you're ready to end the hug, allow your hand to rest there with a calm, steady presence. That small difference instantly changes the emotional tone. It tells him, without any words, that you are relaxed in that moment and comfortable sharing that space. Think about the difference between someone who hugs you while already turning away versus someone who hugs you with calm presence. One feels rushed. The other feels warm and genuine. Imagine greeting a man you enjoy being around after not seeing him for a while. You step into the hug naturally, and your hand rests softly on his upper back. There's no rushing, no nervous movement. Just a steady, relaxed touch for a second or two. That small detail can make the hug feel surprisingly sincere. Psychologically, this works because humans associate steady touch with trust and emotional safety. When a hug feels calm rather than hurried, the brain registers it as a positive emotional experience. And positive emotional experiences are the seeds where attraction often grows quietly over time. What's beautiful about this is that it doesn't require any complicated technique. It's simply about being present in the moment and allowing your body language to reflect ease and warmth. When your touch feels relaxed, it sends a subtle message. Being around you feels comfortable, and that feeling is incredibly magnetic. Now, I'm curious about your experience. Have you ever noticed how some hugs feel warm and memorable while others feel quick and forgettable? Let me know in the comments, because sometimes those tiny moments of connection reveal more than we realize. One of the most powerful elements in human interaction is timing. We often assume attraction is built through what we say or how we look, but timing, the rhythm of a moment, can change how someone emotionally experiences an interaction. And during a hug, one small shift in timing can make the moment far more memorable. The half-second pause before letting go. Most hugs follow a predictable pattern. Two people lean in, hug for a second, maybe give a quick pat on the back, and then separate almost automatically. It's polite, but it's also forgettable because nothing about it stands out. But when a hug lasts just a fraction longer than expected, literally a tiny moment more, it creates a subtle emotional signal. That small pause communicates comfort and presence. It tells the other person, without words, that the moment felt natural enough to stay in for just a little longer. The key here is that the pause must feel effortless. It's not about holding on awkwardly or trying to create tension. It's simply allowing the hug to settle before stepping away. Think of it like the final note of a song. If music stops suddenly, it feels incomplete. But when the final note lingers for a brief moment before fading, it leaves a lasting emotional impression. Human interactions work the same way. For example, imagine you've just finished a relaxed evening conversation with a man you enjoy talking to. Maybe you were both laughing about something or sharing stories, and now it's time to say goodbye. You hug him, And instead of instantly pulling away like most people do, you allow the hug to last just a tiny bit longer, maybe half a second more than expected. Then you release the hug naturally and smile. That's it, nothing dramatic. But that small extension changes how the moment feels. Instead of a routine goodbye, the hug suddenly feels warm and memorable. What's interesting is that he may not consciously think that hug lasted longer, but he may walk away feeling that something about that interaction felt genuine and easy. And those feelings are powerful because they stay in someone's mind even after the moment ends. Attraction often grows through these tiny emotional impressions that accumulate over time. A half-second pause might seem insignificant, but sometimes the smallest details are the ones people remember the most. Just as the way you enter a hug shapes the feeling of the moment, the way you leave a hug can leave an equally powerful impression. Many people end hugs abruptly. Arms drop quickly, bodies separate instantly. And within a second, both people are already turning away or reaching for their phone or bag. The moment ends so fast that it barely registers emotionally. But when the exit from a hug is softer and more gradual, it creates a completely different experience. It leaves behind a warm emotional echo that stays with someone long after the hug is over. Think about the difference between someone ending a conversation abruptly and someone ending it with a relaxed smile and calm. Goodbye. One feels rushed and forgettable, while the other feels thoughtful and pleasant. The same principle applies to physical gestures like a hug. The ending of the moment often shapes how the entire interaction is remembered. When you begin to step back from the hug, allow your hands to move away gently rather than pulling them away quickly. This small detail creates a sense of smoothness instead of a sudden break. Your body language communicates ease and comfort rather than hurry. At the same time, keeping a relaxed smile or brief eye contact as you step back reinforces the warmth of the moment. It tells him that the hug wasn't just a social habit. It was a moment you genuinely enjoyed. For example, imagine you've just finished having coffee with a man you've been getting to know. The conversation was easy, maybe there was some laughter, and now you're standing outside saying goodbye. You hug him naturally, and as you step back, you don't immediately turn away. Instead, your hands leave the hug gently, you look at him with a small smile, and you say something simple like, "It was really nice seeing you." That soft exit allows the warmth of the hug to carry into the next few seconds of interaction. What's interesting is that people tend to remember the ending of experiences more than the middle. Psychologists call this the peak end effect, where the final emotional moment often shapes the overall memory. When the end of a hug feels calm, warm, and unhurried, that becomes the emotional note he carries with him after you leave. And sometimes that small feeling is exactly what makes someone think about you again later. Beyond all the small techniques and subtle details, the most powerful element in any hug is something that can't truly be scripted: your presence. The energy you bring into the moment often matters far more than where your hands are placed or how long the hug lasts. People can sense when someone is distracted, rushed, or emotionally somewhere else. Even if the hug looks perfectly normal on the outside, it can feel empty when the person giving it isn't fully there. But when someone is genuinely present, calm, relaxed, and enjoying the moment, the hug carries a completely different feeling. Presence shows up in the simplest ways. Your body feels relaxed instead of tense. Your movements are natural instead of mechanical. Your attention is on the person in front of you rather than thinking about the next place you need to be. When that happens, even a short hug can feel warm and memorable. Imagine greeting someone while your mind is busy with 10 other thoughts. checking your phone, thinking about errands, worrying about what you need to do next. The hug will likely feel quick and routine. Now imagine greeting that same person while you're actually enjoying the moment, smiling, and giving your full attention to the interaction. The hug may last the same amount of time, but the feeling is completely different. That's the quiet power of presence. Men often respond strongly to this kind of energy because it's rare in a world where everyone seems constantly distracted. When someone feels truly seen and appreciated in a moment, it naturally creates warmth and comfort. And comfort is often the space where attraction begins to grow. The most memorable people aren't always the loudest or the most dramatic. They're the ones who make others feel relaxed just by being around them. So while these small details about hugs can help, the real secret is simple. Bring genuine warmth into the moment. When you do that, the connection speaks for itself. And now I'm curious about you. Have you ever experienced a hug that felt surprisingly meaningful even though it was simple and brief? Share your thoughts in the comments, because sometimes those small moments of human connection tell the biggest stories.